As you can see, I like to make boxes, all kinds of boxes. These are jigsaw boxes, and then the rest of these are box joints boxes. All of them have been either done with light burn or have been done on my CNC machine. So today I decided to try to capture how I make one of my complicated boxes, and there's a long story about why this particular box is such a pain, but this one is called the Italian Excess Redux because this is the second time I made the box, and the reason I made it is I had somebody donate some locally sourced wood to me, and in return I decided to go ahead and make a box for her. Well, I told her that she could pick any of the designs I had on my site. And what did she do? She picked out the most complicated one, which is the Italian Excess. Well, it's also a very fun box to make. So, because of the complexity, I'm going to divide this video into 3 parts. The first part, what we're going to do is very simply, we're going to make the box using the box joint jig that I made and show how that gets put together. Then the second part will be the design process on using the TurboCAD and Lightburn and actually burning the box. And then the third episode will be purely putting the final touches on the box together and doing the final finishing. So it's you can jump among the series if you want. If you're not interested in how to make a box joint, go ahead. If you're not interested in my design processes on how I actually create the box, go ahead. And then the last episode is how I actually put all the pieces together, and I'm trying to make this so that it's not a long and boring thing, and I'm probably talking more than I need to. So let's just get on, and this is going to be episode number 1, constructing the box. So today we're going to start the process of building the Italian Excess box. It's a very busy box, and as you can see from the intro, it should be a challenge to make. So what I'm going to do here is I selected the 4 pieces of wood that I'm going to use for the bottom of the box. For the back, I'm just going to use oak. This is a pretty decent piece of oak, probably a white oak, so I'm going to put that in the back. In the front, I'm going to use a piece of, well, I'm not sure exactly what this is. I think it's maple, but it sure doesn't look it. But this was cut from a local tree that was felled for some reason, and the person had this kiln dried, and I got ownership of it. So I'm going to produce a box out of it. That's the front. And then for the sides, I'm going to use some cherry, and that should give some nice contrasting colors. So before we get going too far, what I like to do is I like to mark all of the positions. So generally I always start with the front as 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, and 4. So when I cut the box joints, then I know I'll match 1 to 1, I'll match 4 to 4, I'll match 3 to 3, I'll match 2 to 2. It really shouldn't matter, but this is something that I generally do and works out for me. Okay, so now that I have that set up, the next thing I got to do is we're putting in a Freud 1/4" dado box joint saw blade. And this gives me nice square corners when I cut the box. But I got to do some setups. So I'm going to readjust the camera and we're going to do some setups. When I cut box joints, I always start out with the front. and that would be these two. So before I start out, I take the sides and put them on my jig, and I make sure by adjusting up and down that I get just a little bit proud. I don't want too much, just a little bit. And they'll give me, I'll sand off the difference then when I get ready to do that. Okay, so I'm about ready to go. So this is going to be noisy. I'm just going to do one of these. I'll do the back first. Then you can see how this goes. So put on my safety glasses. Put on my vacuum. So what we want to do is line up the number with the edge here of the jig. Okay, and we're going to start cutting. Okay, so I got nice joints and it's even from top to bottom. I'll repeat this for the front and this other side and I'll be done with that. I got the front panel cut and I got the rear panel cut. So the next thing I got to do is set up the measurements so I can do the sides. So you do the reverse because now you're more interested in doing this fit into here. So I take the front, which is the thicker piece, it's just a little bit thicker, and set that up on the jig and just make sure that it's just slightly proud. And it looks like it is, so I'm going to leave that alone. It's approximately the same size as this anyway, so we're in good shape. And I'm going to go ahead and cut. The only difference here is that since I'm starting off with the thick end, I put this here, right on the front, and now the matching number, which would be 1, there it is, goes right up against it when I start. So that way when I do the cut, I'll have the tongue already set up. So I'm not going to show you all that because it's noisy, and I'll just go ahead and finish it. Okay, so the basic box is cut. It looks okay. I don't see too many problems with it. Nothing that I can't handle. So I have the unknown wood in the front, and I'm going to have a couple of, we're going to have a lot of designs here. We'll have designs on the sides on the cherry. So I don't glue it up until after I get all of the designs on. So the other thing I got to do is come up with the top. So this is another piece of the wood that was given, that we're going to use, that's a native of Oregon. I still don't have any idea really what this is. It's a very dirty looking wood, but you know, we'll try to see what we can do. So since it's so large, you can see that the overhang is really bad. I'm going to set it up flush with the back, which is, you know, I just do something like that to get a nice back, and I'll scribe a line with a pencil in the front. Okay, now if I move that off to the side, there's a nice line here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to come in maybe an eighth or a quarter of an inch in, and there'll be the lip overhang of the box. Some people like to have it cut flush on all sides. I like a little bit of a lip on there, so that's what this is for. So I'm going to cut that, and then it's way too thick, as you can see. This is almost 3/4 of an inch thick, which is way too heavy for a box. So I'm going to have to mill it down using my joiner, and I will cut off at least an eighth of an inch to get this thing down to a reasonable size, because it's going to be a heavy lid as it is, and you put a mirror or something on there and it's going to get even heavier. Now hopefully when I sand this, some of this character of the wood will go out. It almost looks like a starting of a spalted maple, but you know, it's really difficult for me to tell, you know, what I've got here until I do a final sanding and put some oil on it. So that's where we are now. We're going to do the designs for the front and the sides, and then we will do the designs for the top before we start any more work.